From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Arizona residents are taking notice of the excessive heat, but so are Arizona power providers. We spoke with APS officials to find out how the temperatures are affecting business.
And last week's attack on lawmakers has some believing the country is more divided than ever. But lawmakers say that is far from true.
Plus, the Navajo Nation needs to fill an economic void. How building a tram at the Grand Canyon excites some and upsets others. We have both sides of the stories tonight.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Madison Connor.
And I'm Tyler Finger. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, Arizona is in the midst of its first big heat wave of the year. The entire state is under either a heat advisory or excessive heat warning. All of this happening on the final full day of spring. Today, I got a look inside APS's Operations Center and trading floor, where they're monitoring this heat. Today in Phoenix, as the temperature went up, so did energy consumption.
My folks behind us right here will be ordering our power plants online and stages all the way out throughout today in order to get ready for that estimated peak customer demand at around 5:30 tonight.
On APS's trading floor in Phoenix, where they buy and sell energy to other power companies and control when their power plants come online, it's crunch time.
We're thinking our customers could use more power tomorrow and Wednesday than we've ever seen our customers demand before.
At the Distribution Operations Center, staffers are monitoring the grid around the state 24/7 to make sure their more than 1.2 million customers have electricity when they need it.
The grid has responded well, and in the limited cases where we have had system issues, our teams have responded, they've been dispatched, they've gone out, been able to troubleshoot.
Back on APS's trading floor, they've been looking at this summer for years.
We're forecasting 15 years in advance to be able to plan for and put the power plants in place to be able to meet a customer demand. And this is kind of in line with what our expectations were.
And while the heat wave is packing quite the punch, APS says they are ready.
And in the coming years, we should expect to use even more energy. One study published in Nature Climate Change shows that hot spells are becoming worse with global warming. Author Camille Mora estimates that 1 in 3 people on Earth experience deadly heat for 20 days a year. And at this rate, the numbers will increase. On the upside, Mora says these heat waves should be less lethal in the future as we become more accustomed to dangerous temperatures.
American Airlines has announced plans to cancel approximately 20 regional flights in Phoenix tomorrow due to the heat. According to the manufacturer's manual, the CRJ regional aircraft can tolerate temperatures up to 118 degrees. American Airlines says customers can rebook flights or request a full refund.
We have new developments in an attack last week by a gunman who opened fire on a group of Republican lawmakers as they were practicing for a charity baseball game. Cronkite News reporter Noelle Lilly from our Washington bureau spoke to some of the congressmen.
News reports over the weekend are saying that gunman James Hodgkinson reportedly had a list on him naming members of Congress at the time of last week's shooting. That list reportedly included the name of Arizona Representative Trent Franks. This news had Franks and others in Washington wondering, how did we get here?
I'm really not going to be able to speak to anything related to any list or even confirm confirm if one exists or not. But I do think that there are a number of different indications now that this was a premeditated situation. I mean, it's very important that we ask ourselves how we got to this point.
Other Arizona lawmakers found themselves wondering the same thing in the aftermath of Wednesday's shooting.
It's sad when we have people being shot for representing the citizens of America.
O'Halloran said that violence is never the answer.
We're all Americans, and we're entitled to our positions, entitled to how we vote as representatives of the people, but we need to do it in a way that's constructive, and obviously violence is something that is not a constructive process in the lives of the American people.
Republican Senator Jeff Flake, who was on the field when the shooting occurred, said that Congress is not always as divided as people think.
You know, despite what you see on cable television or you read on social media, you know, that we don't always fight each other, and we know that we shouldn't ascribe, evil motives to our opponents politically.
Flake added that Congress should show a more united front.
I think we can all dial down the rhetoric, and if we can do that and set the example, maybe it'll filter down.
While O'Halloran said that cooperation is always the key.
This gets down to people being able to work together, leaders that understand the difference between how they comment in a public way about issues and communicate with citizens.
We reached out to Representative Frank's office, but have not yet heard back from them. Additionally, law enforcement officials have not confirmed the existence of this list or the names on it. Live in Washington, Noelle Lilly, Cronkite News.
Thanks to a new law, Santan Valley can now set up a city government, but the decision ultimately rests in the hands of the voters. Efforts to incorporate Santan Valley will have to wait until August 9th when the law takes effect, and residents will vote as early as November 2018. However, previous efforts to incorporate a Santan Valley city government have been unsuccessful.
The Navajo Nation is considering a project that would build a tram in the Grand Canyon. Last year, tribe members expressed concern that the construction will desecrate the land.
Our culture, our way of life, it's under threat of a desecration because the developer chose not to listen, chose to tell us that the site where you pray is not a sacred space.
On the other hand, with the closure of a coal-fired power plant, the Navajo Nation has an economic void to fill. Building the tourist attraction, which would include a gondola, hotel, restaurant, and more, could create thousands of jobs.
We have to think 20 years into the future, 60 years, 100 years into the future. How will we be? We have thousands of people who are unemployed, who have signed and said, I want this project to come through and I want a job.
The Navajo Nation would receive a share of revenue from the tram, somewhere between $20 and $60 million. We've seen a lot of Arizona teams working hard to support communities across the state.
Coming up on Cronkite News, how the Phoenix Mercury are showing support for the LGBTQ community.
We covered spelling, then history, and now another student represents Arizona in a national competition, this time in science.
I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life now. All my dreams are coming true, yeah. I've been waiting for this moment. Right about now. Good to be alive right about now. Good to be alive right about now. Hallelujah, let that bass line move. It's good to be alive right about now. I think I finally found my right about now. Heaven knows you're a dreamer. Don't hide it from anyone. Don't hide it from anyone. Hey, would you believe me if I said we are here for a reason now? This is our life. This is what counts. This is for us. I will go anywhere for you. I will go anywhere for you.
Officially from 36, and he hooks it in. Arizona State wins. Keeping one deep, and it is caught. Stealing strong. Do you believe it?
Pride Month is upon us. Diversity and inclusion are being recognized all over the country, and One Valley organization is proud to have represented the movement from the start. Reporter Sarah Haddis has more on how the Phoenix Mercury honored the LGBTQ community on Friday.
Sunday, Diana Taurasi made headlines by becoming the WNBA's all-time leading scorer. But last month, her wedding photos were featured in People magazine following her marriage to former Mercury teammate Penny Taylor. With their relationship out in public for the first time, it opens up a sense of comfort and equality for not only the fans, but for others in the league.
Friday's Pride Night during the Mercury's game against the Chicago Sky held special meaning for guard Danielle Robinson and forward Emma Cannon. Both are lesbians.
We've had a lot of hurdles of, us being who we are and finally being accepted, and, for us to have a month and us to be in Arizona and have our night, I think it's a plus.
It's just nice to be able to be comfortable in who you are. And like I said, just be able to celebrate and have fun and be exactly who I know I am.
Mercury Vice President of Business Operations, Vince Kozar, says the WNBA prides itself in its advocacy for the LGBTQ community.
We were the first league to adopt Pride as a platform. We have more out athletes than any of the other leagues you mentioned. So it's an opportunity for us to lead, like I said, not just for our players, not just for our fans, but for anyone watching that says, it's 2017 and we want to be more inclusive, not less.
Several local LGBTQ organizations were on hand for Friday's 4th annual Pride Night, and 10,000 signs filled the arena to represent a rainbow, a symbol of pride for the LGBTQ community.
I think it means a lot, not to only us as adults, but our youth as well. Like, this is a big statement. It really gives them, hope. Us hope, everybody hope, it's okay.
A lot of people out there that play sports and they're ashamed of who they are, but when WNBA recognizes it and shows that it's okay to be you, then it makes it a lot easier for girls that are growing up and they see their favorite player who may be just that type of person, and they think that it's acceptable and it's okay for them to live that way. So it opened a lot of doors.
Prior to Pride Night, several Mercury players signed one community's unity pledge, representing unity, diversity, and inclusion in the city of Phoenix. And at halftime, Miller Coors was the first national brewery to sign the pledge as well. In Phoenix, Sarah Haddis, Cronkite News.
You might not know what element in the Hope Diamond has the largest molecular mass, but an 8th grader from Arizona does. And he showed off that knowledge at an Arizona national competition today in Washington. Reporter Emma Lockhart has more from our Washington bureau.
I'm excited about chemistry because it just tells us so much about how the world works and how we work.
Isaiah Hazelwood from Scottsdale put his knowledge of chemistry to the test today. He joined middle schoolers from across the country at the You Be the Chemist National Challenge. He shares how he prepared for the big day.
I conversed a lot with my chemistry teacher, Miss Cooney, and the previous Arizona Challenge winner, Logan Liu. In addition to that, I've studied the provided materials and a AP chemistry textbook.
All 42 students started off in the preliminary rounds, answering multiple choice questions.
And the correct answer is B.
Some questions that threw Isaiah off.
I'm excited about having completed the preliminary rounds. However, the questions are a bit harder than I expected, and I'm not as certain that I'll manage to get into a top 4 spot.
They are tough questions. As a person with a chemistry degree, there were some that I really had to pause and think about, and so you have the dichotomy of not only are they hard questions, but you're on a timeline.
Although intimidated, Isaiah was able to survive and advance to the second round with 14 other students this morning, with 3 more rounds to go before a national winner is chosen tonight. In Washington, Emma Lockhart, Cronkite News.
Isaiah did not advance to the quarterfinal round. The temperatures in the valley might seem brutal,
but it turns out this heat is necessary for other weather patterns. Coming up on Cronkite News, how high heat is essential for other Arizona-specific weather.
We are under an excessive heat warning today. What to expect coming up.
combat is like crack cocaine. It's an enormous high, but it has enormous costs. And I think that we make a big mistake if we say, oh, well, war is hell. We all know the war is hell story. It is, but there's an enormously exhilarating part of it.
Officially from 36, and he hooks it in. Arizona State wins. Keeping one deep, and it is caught. Jalen Strong. Do you believe it? All right.
Fascinating.
You know, sometimes I wish I wasn't so beloved.
Can't you see? Little girl got a hold on me like wow. Baby, I'm howling for you.
It's literally one for the history books.
Enjoy.
Các cái nhà lãnh đạo Việt Nam mà nói rằng là chúng tôi sẵn sàng hy sinh đến cái người dân Việt Nam cuối cùng. Thực sự mà nói thì người dân không biết được, miền Bắc không có thể ý thức một cách đầy đủ rằng đằng sau những cái tuyên bố mà cao cả đấy là sự hy sinh của chính họ.
White River authorities are reporting a new wildfire in east central Arizona. Highway 73 from Canyon Day to Carrizo Junction has been closed. Because of this 400-acre fire, authorities have issued a pre-evacuation order for the residents of Cedar Creek. There are currently 13 wildfires burning around Arizona. The largest is at the southern part of the state near Dragoon. While it's burning nearly 24 square miles, it's nearly 80% contained.
2 hikers were rescued at Dreamy Draw Mountain on Sunday. The Phoenix Fire Department says the hikers became nauseous and dizzy when they were walking up the mountain. The man and woman were found in distress by a fire department crew. Temperatures peaked at 112 degrees that afternoon. With this week's excessive heat, officials suggest hiking early in the morning and bringing enough cold water.
While the high temperatures are causing issues for some, one climatologist says it's necessary for Arizona's climate. Reporter Devin Connolly sat down with Randy Caverni to explain why.
It's called the heat dome, compressed air turning Phoenix into a pressure cooker of heat. Although the temperatures may be tough to deal with, officials at Arizona State say it all serves a purpose. Phoenix is expecting to see some of the highest temperatures this year, according to Randy Cerveny, Arizona State University professor and climatologist. The heat wave could bring record-breaking temperatures. While the heat may be tough to deal with now, Cerveny says this contributes to our monsoon season later.
The heat at the surface causes a wind pattern change that starts to draw moisture up from the Gulf of California and from the Pacific Ocean. So if we didn't have these hot temperatures right now, we wouldn't have any chance for a monsoon later on in the year.
According to Cerveny, while the excessive heat does lead to monsoons, it may not determine the size or quantity that we may have in the future. In the Broadcast Center, Devin Conley, Cronkite News.
We still have a while until those monsoon storms arrive, but until then, Madison tells us what we have in store for the week.
Well, Tyler, it's going to get pretty toasty this week. And as for today, we are currently sitting at 116. Now, that excessive heat warning was extended until Saturday. If you look, we are at the high of 117 today is actually 1 degree lower than the record that was made last year. And we skyrocketed past that average high of 105. Looking at temperatures across the state, the whole state is feeling the heat today. We have 118 in Lake Havasu, 93 in Show Low, and 88 in Grand Canyon. But that is nothing like what we're feeling here in the valley. We have 115 in Buckeye, 115 in Surprise, and then 107 over there in Superior. As the heat wave does continue, so do those triple digits. We have 119 tomorrow, 118 on Tuesday, and then they continue through the rest of the week. On Monday, we actually hit 110. I'm Madison Connor, Cronkite Weather.
As Arizonans brace themselves for this week's possible record-level temperatures, AAA is urging motorists to prepare their vehicles for the heat wave. AAA offers these tips to help your vehicle safely survive the summer heat. Check your coolant. This will protect the radiator and engine from wear and corrosion. Check your tire pressure. Driving on underinflated tires causes them to overheat and increase the likelihood of a blowout. Check that all fluids are filled. That includes motor oil, transmission fluid, power steering, and brake fluid. And if your AC isn't working, that means something in your engine is also not cooling down as well. Make sure to have the air conditioning system checked by a certified technician. Once your car is ready for the heat, you may want to take a trip up the California coast. If you do, you'll be joined by an NFL team. Coming up on Cronkite News, how Los Angeles is reacting to the news of its new home team.
Finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life. Now all my dreams are coming true. Yeah, I've been waiting for this moment. It's good to be alive right about now. Right about now. Heaven knows you're a dreamer. Don't hide it from anyone. Don't hide it from anyone. Hey, would you believe me if I said we are here for a reason now? This is our life. This is what counts. This is for us. I will go anywhere for you. I will go anywhere for you.
The NFL will have a new look in the fall when the Chargers relocate from San Diego to Los Angeles. Cronkite News LA reporter Victor Keys shows us how residents are embracing the move.
The Chargers moved to Carson, a suburb less than 20 miles from downtown LA, has some residents warming up to the idea despite some early apprehension.
I think that Carson needs a little bit more, popularity. It needs more people to know that, this city exists. And by having that team here, it'll bring more popularity to the city.
I just may try buying tickets to check it out because I don't go to games a lot. But since they're coming here in Carson, I'll try it and see.
Successful small businessmen like Keaton Johnson, owner of Ken's Ice Cream Parlor, believes the Chargers coming to town presents a whole new customer base that didn't exist.
We're excited. I know it's been busy. By me offering such a good service for so many years, I like to welcome any Charger fan to come on down and kind of visit us. I said I'm a big football fan. I might not be a Charger fan, but I'm still here for you guys.
Though it seems most have accepted the move positively, there are still some looming issues among residents.
It's going to make the city more congested than what it already is. It's going to definitely hike up prices. So no, I'm not in favor with it at all.
Carson Mayor Albert Robles says the city is working to combat any congestion problems.
We're in conversations with both AEG and Cal State Dominguez representatives to try to address that. There's a traffic report that's being prepared by competent professionals. Unfortunately, we would have preferred to have this study done months ago, but we are where we are.
After 3 years, they will move to a multi-billion-dollar facility in neighboring Inglewood. This does not dampen the enthusiasm emanating from City Hall.
Carson is a place to be if you want to be a winner.
In September, the Chargers will begin their campaign to prove the mayor right. From Los Angeles, Victor Keys for Cronkite News.
The StubHub Center accommodates only 30,000 people, making it by far the smallest stadium in the NFL. The Chargers have sold out of all of their home games.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, the Trump administration decides to continue DACA, the program that protects young undocumented immigrants. And we'll have an overview of how the president continues to bump up against the U.S. Constitution.
Ahead to the most expensive congressional race in U.S. history, Georgia's special election. That's Monday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.